The Bizarre and Lonely Death of Olivia Mabel. In 1994, Texas authorities responded to a series of 911 calls from the home of Olivia Mabel. What they found horrified them. Olivia Mabel was a doting mother of Aiden and wife of Travis, living on a sprawling property called the Footlights Ranch about an hour north of Dallas. Her world came crashing down in 1990 when her 7-year-old Aiden was found dead in a pond on the property. Overcome with grief and guilt, Olivia retreated from her work, friends, church, and husband, leading to their divorce in early 1991. Utterly alone in the world, she was last seen alive in September of 1991. When they arrived on the scene, hearing no response, officers broke down the board door. What they found shocked and horrified them. They entered what felt like an abandoned house, choked with dust, long neglect, and dead air. Searching the house as they entered Aiden's tidy room, they found Olivia dead in her nightgown and slippers, perched on a rocking chair in front of a crude altar of her son, clutching a stick-figure doll of his image. Investigators estimated she had been dead for months. Upon the altar, a trunk covered with a child's bedsheet, a photo of Aiden, hand-drawn images of Aiden, a profusion of messages handwritten to Aiden by Olivia, personal possessions of his including a baseball glove, teddy bear, and a pair of shoes, an urn containing ashes, candles, and flowers. Affixed to the front of the altar were ceremonial writing in a language that led investigator Terry Goshier to not recognize. The language turned out to be Sanskrit. The writing translated into English as construct or to build. Francesco Santiago, among one of the first officers on the scene, described what she found. I spend a lot of time in El Paso, and I had an uncle that was into some really dark occult stuff. I recognized it immediately. When I walked in that room and saw the symbols and the photos on that altar, I felt a strong, angry presence looming over me. It was honestly the last thing I expected to see in this town." Unquote. The TULPA of Olivia Mabel, based on the altar, the Sanskrit, the doll, the isolation, the obsession, the strong, angry presence Santiago felt. Many have speculated Olivia Mabel managed to channel her momentous grief into the creation of an actual entity known in Tibetan Buddhism as a tulpa, or in English, a thought form. A tulpa is described as a being created through sheer spiritual and mental discipline alone, or magic formations generated by a powerful concentration of thought. One pictures a diaphanous haze of thought shaped and compressed down into tangible form and given autonomous life by the intense concentration, willpower, and even the desperation of the creator. Incredibly, a note dated February 27, 1994, the date of the 911 calls and the arrival of the police on the scene were found near the body, though Olivia had clearly been dead for weeks or months. The stunning message read, "My Aiden, I am so sorry. I should have never let it get like this. I'm leaving. I will not let you keep me, you vile, vile, evil creature. Mommy's coming for you, Aiden. My sweet Aiden. Mommy loves you." Officer Santiago commented later, "One of the oddest parts for me is the date on the last letter we found, dated the very day we kicked the swollen door in. The city concluded that she post-dated everything, but I don't believe she was alone in that house, and I don't believe her spirit wasn't still in that room with us that night. But then, that makes me the crazy one, right?" Had the tulpa Olivia created in Aiden's image gotten out of control, turned evil, and who or what placed the silent 911 calls from the house that evening? Belgian-French explorer and spiritualist Buddhist Alexandria David Neal observed tulpa creation in the 20th century Tibet and wrote in Magic and Mystery in Tibet, "Once the tulpa is endowed with enough vitality to be capable of playing the part of a real being, it tends to free itself from its maker's control. This, say Tibetan occultists, happens nearly mechanically, just as the child, when his body is completed and able to live apart, leaves its mother's womb. In 2005, current owner Christopher Hagan, unable to sell the property, brought in Austin paranormal investigator Drew Navarro, who said of the investigation, "In hundreds of locations I've studied, I've never felt such an imposing force. I couldn't breathe, my heart was constantly racing. Its energy kept changing, but none of it felt inviting. Whatever it is in there, it's extremely possessive and behaves so erratically, like a jealous child throwing a tantrum. As far as I'm concerned, that house and that entire property should be avoided. It needs a serious intervention because I'm not sure what we're dealing with." To this day, the property remains unsold. Well, what do you guys think about that one? I thought it was creepy, and it is a very, very true story. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. If you like, will you please like and subscribe? Please join me on Podbean at www.doyoubelieve.podbean.com or on YouTube at Do You Believe? True Paranormal and The Unexplained. And thank you guys for listening.